What if the dazzling legends of Hollywood's golden era had one final close-up, not captured on camera, but inscribed within the fragile pages of their personal diaries? What hidden addictions, secret romances, or aching vulnerabilities would spill forth from those ink-stained margins when the lock was finally undone? Tonight, we delve together into those delicate leaves to uncover the startling truths these icons carried to their graves, only unveiled after the final curtain fell on their last act. Greta Garbo. Few lines in any diary have sparked such archival turmoil as Garbo's shadowed lament. Mercedes and I share a darkness no camera can catch. In 2000, when the Rosenbach Museum in Philadelphia unveiled 87 of Garbo's personal letters, many addressed to the playwright and poet Mercedes Diacasta, the enigmatic image of Hollywood's most elusive star began to unravel. Embedded within these letters were 181 coded pet names, decipherable only by matching Garbo's own annotations with Diacasta's memoirs. The collection also included 43 meticulously preserved train tickets between New York and hidden retreats, along with receipts for 46 hotel stays booked under assumed names. Though whispers of this romance had long circulated in Hollywood circles, these emotional and logistical details provided scholars with the closest confirmation yet. But Garbo was more than a secret lover. Her notebooks, found alongside the letters, contained detailed records, daily weight measurements, blood pressure readings during grueling production weeks, and even curious tallies like an audience count of 42 at a premiere. One revealing 1933 entry itemized her total studio fines, adjusted to $15,300 today, incurred for refusing promotional interviews and public appearances. "Silence is cheaper than lawyers," she penned, underlining the phrase twice. MGM, both embarrassed and alarmed, reportedly offered a substantial sum to suppress the letters, but the museum stood firm. Perhaps most poignant was an entry dated May 12, 1937. "The cloud again, a Swedish winter in my skull." Today, mental health historians interpret Garbo's restrained yet piercing language as an early testament to chronic depression. Her writings compel a reevaluation of Garbo, not solely as a screen icon, but as a pioneering LGBTQ figure who grappled with mental illness and immense fame in profound solitude. Joan Crawford. On a scorching June afternoon in 2024, researchers at the Margaret Herrick Library carefully untied the string of a battered composition notebook bearing the fading inscription, "JC, my eyes only." What unfolded inside ignited a media frenzy, revealing an intensely raw, obsessive, and often merciless glimpse into Crawford's private world, starkly contrasting the polished, studio-crafted image of devoted motherhood and cinematic grace. The notebook brimmed with daily logs, box office numbers meticulously recorded in red ink, and calorie counts tracked to the decimal point. Most striking were her personal rankings of rival actresses. "Davis eats wrinkles," she wrote. "Stanwyck 5, FA needs lessons in rage." Crawford's scorn for her contemporaries went beyond critique. She logged perceived betrayals by industry insiders, annotating names with notes like "spills secrets to columnists" and "laughs too long at Bet's jokes." 17 pages detailed a clandestine affair with a 19-year-old co-star during the filming of Mildred Pierce. Attached to these entries were taped Polaroids, beneath which wire transfer receipts suggested payments intended to keep the affair hidden. Another unexpected discovery was a fully drafted press release for her own funeral, complete with stage directions, lighting cues, and her desired closing line. She died, as always, lit from the left. Some revelations challenged narratives from her daughter Christina's explosive memoir Mommy Dearest. Although certain diary entries, like a celebratory note in April 1963 declaring, "No wire hangers this week," contradicted aspects of Christina's account, others validated claims of Crawford's emotional volatility. A pulse check following a night of drinking hit 140 beats per minute, below which she scrawled, "Screamed at Helga for no reason." Within 2 days of these diary pages surfacing, People magazine reported over 12 million views, not as a character assassination, but as a profound window into an image-conscious woman haunted by a fear of fading away. Joan Crawford's diary unveiled a woman not merely acting but directing her own drama, orchestrating even her darkest moments with unwavering control. Marilyn Monroe's private diaries reveal a raw and intimate portrait behind her dazzling public image. Published posthumously in the 2010 collection Fragments, these 169 entries and torn hotel stationery pieces strip away the peroxide gloss to expose a woman grappling with intense artistic ambition, mental anguish, and a profound loneliness. One haunting entry, scribbled on Waldorf Astoria hotel stationery, notes 32 press photographers waiting at 6:17 a.m., to which she added, "Smile anyway." Another entry contains detailed dosage calculations, 1.5 tablets, 3 times a day, followed by a hand-drawn heart cracked down the middle. Monroe's handwriting often deteriorated during moments of emotional strain, which experts later linked to her growing dependence on barbiturates and unstable therapy sessions. Among the most startling discoveries were 9 unsent letters. One begged Joe DiMaggio to bring her home. Another cautioned President John F. Kennedy about risking history's disdain should he fail to keep his promises. The most poignant was an unsent letter to herself. "Keep the light on. Monsters hate light." Forensic analysis confirmed that her final diary entry, "Fear is a room without doors," was penned less than 36 hours before her tragic death in August 1962. Beyond her inner turmoil, the diaries also offer sharp social commentary. One entry contrasts Robert Mitchum's $175,000 salary for River of No Return with her own $100,000, underscored by the phrase, "Smile anyway," a line that resonates deeply with biographers and feminist historians alike. The journals confirmed Monroe was diagnosed with psychic mood swings, a condition modern medicine might classify within the bipolar spectrum. Marilyn Monroe's writings provide more than insight into the pains of a sex symbol. They reveal a woman acutely self-aware of her constructed fantasy and the nonfiction life she had to live. "I know I am fiction to them," she wrote, "but I have to live in nonfiction. The world wanted a fantasy, and Marilyn gave it to them." But Norma Jean, the girl behind the glitter, was busy writing her truth in pen. Vivien Leigh's on-screen sophistication, immortalized in iconic roles such as Scarlett O'Hara and Blanche DuBois, concealed a life intensely mapped in detail. When the Victoria and Albert Museum acquired her extensive archive in 2013, they uncovered a remarkable collection of some 7,500 personal items, including letters, photographs, and notably, diaries spanning from her teenage years up until days before her death in 1967. One of the most revealing entries dates to June 10, 1937, where she wrote, "Told Lee Holman left with Larry," marking the dissolution of her marriage and the beginning of a turbulent relationship with Laurence Olivier. This entry became a foundation for biographers tracing the complex path of her personal and professional journeys. What emerged was a portrait of a woman striving for control amidst escalating chaos. The diaries recorded 22 manic episodes and 5 significant depressive crashes, often coded by symbols she developed to monitor her mental state, a pattern later confirmed by medical records consistent with bipolar disorder. During the troubled production of Elephant Walk, Leigh penned a chilling note, "Saw tigers today and tigers inside." Ultimately, she was replaced by Elizabeth Taylor following a breakdown. Leigh's obsession extended beyond emotional measures. She meticulously quantified her performances, rating each opening night from applause intensity on a scale of 1 to 10, and even calculated theater acoustics. Financially, she was equally meticulous, maintaining a war bond ledger showing £54,220 in personal purchases, approximately £2.44 million today, alongside income from acting stipends and donations. An entry from 1949 dissected Olivier's stage performance, noting, "Hamlet's kiss, 68% stage, 32% mine." Her private calculations blurred the boundaries between performance and passion, revealing the profound loss of self behind the roles assigned to her. As public applause swelled, Vivien Leigh's diaries became increasingly clinical and statistical, as if only data could stave off her emotional collapse. Beneath her Oscar-winning glamour lay a woman measuring her mental health through the volume of standing ovations, caught between the demands of fame and the fragility of her inner world. Rock Hudson's story took a public turn in July 1985 when the world first learned of his battle with AIDS, shocking both Hollywood and the American public. Yet, his personal journal, a poignant collection of 56 handwritten pages smuggled out of Paris by a nurse after his collapse at the Ritz, reveals a much longer, private struggle. Hudson had been meticulously documenting his health decline in clinical detail, beginning with terse notes like TC cells 17, weight 143 pounds, shame immeasurable. These entries chronicle his symptoms, experimental treatments, and the crushing emotional burden of keeping his illness a secret. This diary was more than a medical log. It was a grim ledger of the price he paid for preserving his public image. Hudson methodically recorded a table comparing the insurance payments from his studio to the potential career loss if he went public with his diagnosis, an agonizing calculation unique to the Hollywood elite. Margin notes provided intimate glimpses, such as a terse reminder to call Doris Day, referencing his longtime friend and co-star. There are also entries recounting a secret 1963 charity gala meeting with Ronald Reagan, where Hudson observed, "Ron smiled like he didn't know," implying a deliberate distance maintained by the former actor and politician from the swirling rumors about Hudson's sexuality. Perhaps most startling are the diary's details about maintaining a heterosexual facade, with records of 38 staged photo opportunities alongside various actresses over 2 decades designed to deflect suspicion. In these pages, Hudson describes his life as living in third-person drag, a hidden existence shaped by fear, secrecy, and survival in the glare of Hollywood's ruthless spotlight. Elizabeth Taylor's Blue Room was legendary among those close to her, a vault-like sanctuary within her Bel Air mansion, said to house her most intimate treasures, jewelry, love letters, scripts, and, as uncovered after her passing in 2011, over 7,000 pages of private diary entries. In 2022, biographer Kate Anderson Brower gained unprecedented access to these profound documents. What surfaced was far from the musings of a diva. Rather, it was the meticulous ledger of a woman carefully chronicling a life lived under the dual shadows of public adoration and private pain. One revealing entry from the tumultuous filming of Cleopatra read, "Budget at $2 million already smells like Farrah." By the end of production, Taylor had documented every major cost overrun, noting how expenses soared to a staggering $44 million, enormous for the era. Marginal sketches of the infamous diamond she had yet to own, annotated someday, foretold the legendary gem Richard Burton would gift her. The diaries delve deeply into her 8 marriages with extraordinary precision. Richard Burton appears a remarkable 1,392 times, while her final husband, Larry Fortensky, merited only 27 mentions. Taylor meticulously recorded their passionate arguments, reconciliations, and even appraised jewelry side by side with emotionally quantified scores. Fight level 6 out of 10, recovery champagne, 2 glasses of Krug. Her struggles with addiction are laid bare within these pages. After enduring a tracheotomy in 1961, Taylor logged every Demerol injection, complete with timestamps and pain ratings. In 1985, an entry detailed her personal crusade for AIDS research funding. 17 phone calls made, $47 million pledged, excluding Frank Sinatra's generous contribution. Her philanthropic efforts were audited down to the last dollar, revealing a woman who balanced glamour with grit. The Diaries also offer sharp commentary on the inequities of Hollywood's pay scales. A chart contrasts her $1 million Cleopatra salary with Audrey Hepburn's $750,000 for My Fair Lady, accompanied by Taylor's cheeky note, "Sorry, Audrey, get a volcano." Woven with wit, sorrow, and clarity, these writings expose Elizabeth Taylor not only as a cinematic icon but as a shrewd negotiator, a vulnerable addict, and a philanthropic force who understood the true cost of power. James Dean's legendary persona as the ultimate rebellious youth was forever sealed by his untimely death at the age of 24. However, a 2023 auction of his estate unveiled a more vulnerable and deeply insecure side of the star, dramatically reshaping his narrative. Among over 500 personal items belonging to his agent, Jane D.C., was a 60-page handwritten diary that peeled back the layers of the myth. One of the most haunting pages featured a rough pencil sketch of the Porsche 550 Spider, the very car Dean would ultimately lose his life in, with the chilling caption, "Speed is only borrowed." Throughout the diary, Dean chronicled a list titled, "Fears I Pretend Are Thrills," tallying 92 distinct anxieties by August 1955. These included fears of abandonment, exposure, and fading into irrelevance, revealing the inner turmoil behind his carefree image. Dean also kept a meticulous ledger of professional rejections for roles in major films such as From Here to Eternity, Picnic, and The Silver Chalice. With a defiant counter column labeled, "I'll show them," these entries illustrated his relentless determination despite setbacks. His obsession with quantification extended beyond career notes. He documented RPMs on his motorcycle, daily cigarette brand preferences, and categorized fan mail by type and origin, showing a man constantly trying to make sense of his world. A particularly startling revelation came from a candid, never-mailed letter to choreographer Jack Simmons, in which Dean confessed, "The mask sticks tighter after every autograph," poignantly exposing the burden of maintaining a public facade. Also disclosed was an unsettling 1954 incident involving a studio executive, whom Dean traded a Buick and a vague promise to secure a role, a stark reminder of the behind-the-scenes machinations shaping his meteoric rise. Ultimately auctioned for $850,000, Dean's diary stands as one of the most valuable personal journals in cinematic history. Far from glorifying rebellion, these pages expose a young man grappling with fame's costs, meticulously calculating legacy, and drowning in the price of stardom before his story could fully unfold. Cary Grant, the epitome of suave elegance and on-screen charm, left behind a different kind of legacy, not in written pages, but in raw, unfiltered audio tapes. These recordings, spanning over 100 sessions from 1958 to 1961, were captured during LSD-assisted psychotherapy, recently unveiled from the archives of the Janitor Clinic in January 2024. Over 17 hours of candid conversations reveal a man wrestling with deep psychological wounds beneath his polished facade. In these sessions, Grant's voice breaks through layers of repression and self-examination, uncovering childhood trauma marked by abandonment and the haunting institutionalization of his mother, a truth he believed until adulthood that she had died. He revealed a fragmented identity, recognizing 16 distinct internal personalities ranging from the dancer to the tailor to the abandoned boy, even humorously noting, "I let the confident one take Dion Cannon to dinner." Grant's commitment to healing extended beyond the emotional, as financial records show he spent around $15,000, equivalent to over $150,000 today, on these therapy sessions, secretly kept in a Swiss account labeled self-reconstruction. During the 11th session, he openly discusses orchestrating press leaks to cultivate his impeccable public image as a countermeasure against rumors surrounding a rumored relationship with actor Randolph Scott. When excerpts of these tapes were published by the New York Post in January 2024, under the headline, "Cary Tripped 100 Times and Found Himself," Film enthusiasts and historians alike recognized Grant not merely as a charming star, but as a pioneer of psychedelic-assisted therapy decades before it gained mainstream acceptance. Far from diminishing his charisma, the tapes humanize him, revealing a man whose charm was not a mask but a carefully manufactured survival mechanism. Beneath the laughter and spotlight, Cary Grant's true story was etched not in laughs and applause, but quietly recorded amid tears and introspection into a microphone taped to his chest. For Judy Garland, the stage served as both a refuge and a battleground. When a small spiral-bound notebook dated 1967 surfaced at Julien's auctions in 2012, fans anticipated showbiz trivia, but discovered instead a stark pharmaceutical log of survival. The opening line read, "Another opening, another dosage." These entries were clinical, listing medications not as casual notes, but as lifelines choreographed with precision. Second 12 Rollin 6, Dexedrine 8. Organized to align with show cues, press calls, and moments when a flawless smile was imperative. Garland meticulously tracked every detail, even noting hotel room temperatures ideal at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, as if a slight change might unravel her. Her mounting debts were recorded like the verses of a tragic ballad: IRS $125,000, agents $71,000, wardrobe advance $34,000. The most haunting line appeared next to her London address: "Audiences stand because I can't." Physical pain, mental exhaustion, and financial strain transformed every performance into an act of sheer will. The notebook also revealed a bitter episode about a failed attempt to co-star in a film with her daughter, Liza Minnelli. "Studio wants insurance forms longer than my script," she scrawled, underscoring how her career had become a liability. Yet amid the despair, Garland's trademark wit glimmered. One audience was rated swell, Clapton key, a note that captured her relentless spirit. These raw, sometimes heartbreaking pages lend credence to biographer Gerald Clark's claim that Garland survived on as little as 4 hours of sleep daily, perpetually navigating a medicated haze. When previewed at auction, bids soared above $30,000, placing a value of approximately $3,300 on each handwritten line. Judy Garland's diary transcends memorabilia, standing as a ledger of resilience, a testament to dependence, and a final aria penned not in song but in milligrams. Richard Burton's diaries unravel a deeply personal and raw narrative that starkly contrasts with his public persona. Published in full by Yale University Press in 2012, his extensive 475,000-word journal stands as one of the most unfiltered celebrity accounts ever documented. These scotch-soaked, literary confessionals lay bare his struggles with alcoholism, obsession, brilliance, and the emotional roller coaster of his tumultuous love affair with Elizabeth Taylor. The diary reads like a novel, richly detailed and emotionally vivid. In a poignant 1966 entry, Burton appraises their joint jewel collection at $5.5 million, punctuated by the sober reflection, "Regrets not to be pawned." His writings meticulously chart every argument with Taylor, documenting 25 major fights in intense prose. One such entry records a truce sealed at 3:12 a.m. with champagne and includes account of the kisses needed to restore peace. Burton's compulsive nature shines through in his self-recording habits, tracking weight fluctuations, rugby scores, and even the exact temperature of his scotch, deemed optimal slightly above wrist pulse. A chilling March 1971 entry estimates his blood alcohol level at 0.4 after a severe binge, describing himself as a technically dead, pretending actor. Despite his dissent, the diary refuses to seek pity. Burton's self-awareness peaks as he often mocks his own excesses. When not caught in a spiral, he turns to literature for solace, noting with poignant affection the completion of Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urberville at 3:17 a.m., calling his wife, "the only noble woman I've loved who never shouted." Psychiatrists have identified clear markers of narcissism and addiction throughout his writings, while literary scholars commend it as a rare and powerful example of raw, volcanic Welsh prose. For enthusiasts, Burton's Diaries serve simultaneously as a tragic love story, a candid self-portrait, and an inward mirror reflecting the turbulent complexities of fame, love, and personal demons. Ingrid Bergman once remarked, "A diary keeps the actress honest." The actress repays by lying to the diary, a half-joking statement that hints at the complexity behind her extensive 7,000 pages of personal writings housed at the Swedish Film Institute in Stockholm. Revealed in 2015 through the acclaimed documentary Ingrid Bergman in her own words, these diaries offer an intimate glimpse into a life chronicled as meticulously as any film script. From an early age, Bergman showed remarkable ambition. At just 12, she wrote, "I will be famous." By her 30s, she had already starred in cinematic classics like Casablanca, Gaslight, and Spellbound. However, 1947 marked a turning point, reflected starkly in her diaries. A secret, never-mailed letter to Italian director Roberto Rossellini confessed, "I burned to make films and children with you." This prescient declaration foreshadowed the scandal that followed when she left her American husband and daughter to start a controversial romance with Rossellini, ultimately bearing him 3 children. Her diaries detail the aftermath of that public uproar: 204 editorials denouncing her, 7 Senate speeches condemning her, and a complete disappearance of studio offers. She meticulously logged every suitcase she carried to Rome under an assumed name, even noting the precise weight down to half a kilogram, alongside fabricated birth records for her twins designed to shield her family from press intrusion. Yet, Bergman's entries reveal not just survival but strategic redemption. After winning the Oscar for Anastasia in 1957, she noted, "Academy forgives, public forgets, 37%. Later pages transformed into a chemotherapy journal, charting white blood cell counts and radiation schedules, accompanied by delicate hand-drawn lilies, symbolizing courage. Historians view Bergman's diaries as those of a master tactician, one who not only endured scandal but engineered her comeback with exceptional precision. Far beyond fame, her writings reflect a woman devoted to legacy, carefully measuring and weighing every chapter of her extraordinary life. Montgomery Clift. Known as a legendary actor whose haunting performances captivated audiences, Clift's life took a tragic turn after his severe car accident in 1956, which left lasting physical and emotional scars. When his estate opened a previously sealed box labeled simply as logs in 2021, they uncovered not poetic musings or brooding reflections, but a clinical record of his physical pain and emotional decline, maintained with the precision and discipline of a wartime medic. Each diary entry was marked with a timestamp and detailed assessments. Left eye mobility was at 38% compared to the right. Pain levels varied from 8.4 at lunch to 9.2 by curtain time. These were not occasional notes, but meticulous daily, sometimes hourly, records. Alongside these were diagrams illustrating nerve damage, including sketches of his own face annotated with comments such as tightness increasing and cheek droop visible. What compounded his struggles was detailed in a section marked Roles Lost, listing 14 major studio productions, including On the Waterfront, which famously won Marlon Brando an Oscar. Next to this entry, Clift had written, "Offered revoked. Face not bankable." He carefully calculated the income lost due to these rejections, amounting to $722,800, equivalent to over $6 million today. His substance use was similarly documented with precision, noting milligrams, timing, and intended functions like pain relief, sleep aid, or social lubrication. One entry detailed a combination of barbiturates and scotch, noting at 3:12 p.m. the first sip. Feel better equals no. Feel human equals maybe. Hidden within the journal were letters including one to Elizabeth Taylor, expressing both admiration and despair. "You still glow. I do not." Another unsent letter contained a haunting single sentence written as a message to himself. "Not wrecked by the crash, wrecked by the mirror." Clift's diary is far from a mere lament. It is a ledger of pain, rejection, and resilience. It reframes his tragic downfall not as an inevitable fate, but as a death tallied by numbers and heartbreakingly precise calculations. Bette Davis never held back either on screen or in her personal writings. In 2023, her personal annotated shooting scripts and a cache of diary pages were auctioned, revealing a mind sharp enough to cut through any illusion. Among the striking discoveries was a running scorecard capturing her legendary feud with Joan Crawford, penciled in the margins of whatever happened to baby Jane. There, in neat script, she recorded Davis 1, Crawford 0, next to an early rehearsal note. Below it, Davis documented Crawford wearing ankle weights, sabotage confirmed. Studio records later substantiated Davis's claim that Crawford deliberately gained weight before scenes requiring Davis to drag her across the set, a petty yet calculated power move. Over the course of the diary, Davis detailed 27 such confrontations. The diary also holds candid reflections on her own waning star power. Next to her 1962 salary figure, she noted it was just 47% of her 1942 rate, though she believed she was worth 200% more than anyone realized. Medical notes scattered through the pages document her battle with Bell's palsy, with right facial mobility at 68%, and include diagrams for camera angles she insisted on to conceal her condition. Perhaps the most poignant entry is dated May 10, 1977, the day Joan Crawford died. On an otherwise blank page, Davis wrote simply, "The scoreboard breaks. Final tally uncertain." This comes from a woman who once declared, "You should never say bad things about the dead. You should only say good." Joan Crawford is dead. Good. The collection, valued at $1.7 million, has become the foundation for numerous academic studies on women's power dynamics in mid-century Hollywood. Davis's diary is more than a record of rivalry. It is a meticulously crafted battle plan, a medical dossier, and a business ledger all at once. Every underline and margin note exposes a mind fiercely fighting to maintain control in an industry built on artifice. Charlie Chaplin, renowned for his iconic silent film persona, was far more than just a master of slapstick comedy. Behind the scenes, he operated with the precision of a mechanic, dissecting laughter itself. In 2019, the Viv Museum in Switzerland unveiled a long-hidden collection of Chaplin's personal ledgers and diaries covering the years 1915 to 1923. These notebooks were filled with detailed calculations, stopwatch timings, and intricate diagrams mapping out comedic sequences, not merely jokes. Every scene featuring his famous character, the tramp, or other roles like the kid or the immigrant, had its own entry. Chaplin meticulously recorded audience laughter, adjusting frame rates, timing of pauses, and shot lengths based on responses gathered during test screenings. His analysis even extended to monitoring the respiratory rhythms of viewers in silent theaters, noting collective gasps before pratfalls synchronously. Beyond his obsession with comedy's mechanics, Chaplin's diaries revealed a deep political anxiety. He maintained a blacklist of 14 individuals he suspected were government informants infiltrating Hollywood's left-leaning circles, a suspicion later corroborated by FBI files which confirmed 11 of those names as actual operatives. Financially, Chaplin was no amateur either. Beginning in 1949, he documented the transfer of $4.8 million, equivalent to approximately $78 million today, into discrete European bank accounts, anticipating the looming threat of exile during the McCarthy era. One particularly poignant page from 1952, just before his final departure from America, tersely stated, 43 years in America, followed by a list of his accomplishments, each triumph strikingly crossed out in bold red ink. Near the end of his life in 1977, Chaplin penned a final entry tallying his impact on film comedy. Total laughter generated roughly 1.89 trillion seconds, amounting to 60,000 years of joy. These diaries reveal that Chaplin, the king of physical comedy, was also its most exacting architect. Every stumble, every banana peel slip was not a spontaneous act of chaos, but a carefully calculated piece of precision entertainment. In Chaplin's world, joy had a formula, meticulously crafted and scientifically measured to perfection. Rita Hayworth, once hailed as the love goddess of Hollywood, faced a heartbreaking decline during her later years, not fading into obscurity, but slipping into the fog of forgetfulness. In 2018, archivists unearthed a slim leather-bound diary cleverly concealed inside a false bottom of her makeup case. This discovery revealed a remarkable 23-year self-monitored chronicle of her cognitive deterioration, spanning from 1948 to 1971. Initially, her diary entries maintained an upbeat tone, though meticulous in detail. She noted absent-minded moments playfully, such as forgetting a columnist's name and blaming it on scotch. However, as the years passed, her writing began to document a troubling pattern, increasing memory lapses. Entries like "Time to recall home address," 47 seconds, or "Words lost mid-sentence 14," poignantly capture her slow unraveling. Hayworth even devised memory tests for herself, posing questions like, "What was my first husband's middle name?" and scoring her responses in terms of accuracy and recall speed. Not only did she carefully monitor these cognitive challenges, but she also tracked what she termed her vanity metrics, weekly body measurements with notes such as waist plus 0.4 centimeters, disaster, and thighs show filming stress. One particularly telling entry from 1968 remarks on a forgotten dance routine during rehearsal, a mishap she attributed humorously, "Choreography gone. Blamed gin, not gin." Her final coherent journal entry in 1976 reads simply, "Rita Hayworth forgotten by Rita Hayworth 100%. Later, her daughter Yasmin Aga Khan revealed that this diary had proven invaluable to doctors, helping identify early-onset Alzheimer's disease, a condition previously misdiagnosed as alcoholism. Since then, the Rita Hayworth Galas for Alzheimer's Research have raised over $80 million, helping to shed light on the disease. More than a medical record, Hayworth's diary stands as a poignant, deeply personal testimony, a performer's clinical eyewitness account of her own fading mind. It is not merely a document. It is a diagnosis made decades before the world fully understood the extent of her struggles, remembering her not just for beauty, but for the courage of chronicling her own unraveling. These diaries reveal truths far deeper than any public headline ever dared to show, capturing fears, passions, addictions, and desires penned in private. Behind the dazzling glamour lay personal struggles and raw vulnerabilities, preserved in ink rather than on film. In these intimate writings, Hollywood legends deliver a final performance beyond the spotlight, reminding us that while fame may fade, the pages of their stories endure, bearing witness to their humanity long after the curtain falls. Which revelation from these hidden diaries surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're captivated by the untold stories of Hollywood's legends, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another behind-the-scenes exploration.